So body image issues and emotional eating go hand in hand. Let's dive in. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So I wanted to talk about this connection between body image issues and emotional eating. So if we go back to the beginning and we think about what is emotional eating is a coping mechanism. It's something we use to cope with discomfort, distress, uncomfortable emotions that come up. And the reason we cope instead of resolve these emotions or move through them or process them is because when we were children, we weren't taught how to move through these emotions. We weren't seen, heard, validated, understood. Our parents or caregivers weren't regulated enough or calm enough to hold us through our discomfort, get us to the other side, and create resolution for us. And so these uncomfortable emotions, they stay in our system. They're unprocessed and they create pain and discomfort. And so we need to soothe ourselves and we need to stop the pain. So food becomes a really great tool for that. It creates a dopamine hit in our system. It gives us some level of comfort. It numbs our system. It distracts us. We temporarily feel good. And so if we have this coping mechanism, what usually happens is that we weren't accepted as we were. We weren't accepted for our emotions, or we were criticized, and we weren't really attuned to or seen or heard. And usually we would have had parents or caregivers that criticized us to a degree, criticized our body, criticized who we were. And we see this in parents and caregivers, maybe at school, maybe in society. This was the messaging all around. And of course, if we look around at our society, the message is, if you look this way, you get the love and acceptance. And so our parents might have been that way, comparing us, telling us, this is wrong about us, or this is wrong about us, or criticizing our body. And, I have a 9-year-old son, and this is still very common for kids to criticize themselves because their parents are not teaching them a different way, or maybe they're learning this at home. And so we haven't come that far in society. And so when we have this, when we're very young, so a human need is to belong and to be accepted. And we need that in order to survive. And as children, we rely on our parents or caregivers for survival. And so we will contort and twist and turn and try to create that body or look that way or criticize ourselves internally to get to that place. And so our parents' voice or caregivers or whoever's voice when we're very young becomes our own self-criticism. And so we start criticizing our body, maybe it's a certain body part or how we look, or we're matching and comparing ourselves to someone in society. And a big reason I feel that happens is because if we don't have this solid foundation of support from our parents or caregivers, that deep love and acceptance, we're going to be swayed even more by society because we have nothing to land on. And as children, we need our parents or caregivers to model this to us, to mirror back to us that we are of value, that we are worthy, that we are acceptable as we are accepted, seen, heard, validated. And when we don't have that mirrored back to us as children, we internalize something is wrong with us. So they might not have said something, but with their actions or with their own demeanor showed to us that we weren't mirrored back these qualities. And so this combined, this is just, a great place for emotional eating to start because our emotional needs and deeper needs are not met. And so we're left with this almost shame that we're not the thing our parents want us to be or our caregivers in order to get the love and acceptance that we desire. And so that critical voice plays out in our head. And so if you're feeling that shame triggers you to go to food to soothe. But in that action of emotionally eating, you're usually choosing processed foods, which create more stress in the body. It shifts the nervous system to fight or flight. And we're in this chronic state of stress. And so we might restrict and try to create that body to get that acceptance, but that triggers shame and our emotional eating because we're not being true to who we are. We still feel shame. And so this creates this ground for we have these issues that are triggering our emotional eating. So every time we pass by the mirror and that critical voice goes off and says, you don't look this way, you should look this way, and it's trying to mold us into what we think is acceptable, but there's a part of us and so that creates shame because we don't look the way we want to. We don't accept ourselves as we are. And so that voice is triggered off and it puts us into a shame spiral. And then we go to food to eat. And then this can show up in other ways as well. So a lot of the times we think because we're emotionally eating, it's just the food choices that are creating the symptoms in our body. So yes, you're in a stress state. And so in a stress state, your body is going to be turned on for poor immunity, low confidence, low self-esteem, imbalanced moods, digestive issues, weight gain, inflammation. But those thoughts, that shame spiral in and of itself, those critical thoughts trigger a cascade of stress as well. So every time you say something negative about your body, negative about yourself, you're creating stress in your body and you're creating that body that represents your stress. And so you're not helping yourself shift into your healthy body, what I like to call your healthy body, because you are still in that critical mindset. So the way you're speaking about yourself, then the actions you're taking to represent that, and the deeper trauma and shame, those unresolved emotions are creating a level of stress. So we've just got all of this stress shifting the nervous system to fight or flight, which results in a body that is not what we think is acceptable. And so how do we get out of this and get into body acceptance, which will help us get to a neutral place and start shifting our body to rest and digest, which is a calm state. And it's where health lives in our body. It's where we get to our healthy. I'm not talking about doing this to fit into a box, to look like something you think is acceptable. It's about genuine acceptance. And the first step to that, and it's the hardest, because a lot of my clients, they're still playing that loop. I want to look a certain way, even though they'll say it's for their health. The deeper loop is I want to look a certain way because that's going to give me the acceptance. We have to almost accept where we're at and all of the actions we've taken in our life, our lifestyle, the yo-yo dieting, the restriction, whatever we've done has gotten us to this place, the thoughts we've thought. And this is the body we're in right now. And we can take steps forward to shifting out of our emotional eating pattern and getting to body acceptance, because they go hand in hand, and acceptance in general. And so from here, in order to get to that place, we have to start dismantling this pattern. Where did it come from? Where's the root of your body image issues? We have to go back to childhood or whatever event that was that created this for you, that made you think you were unacceptable. And it might not look like a specific body part, just you as a being was probably felt unacceptable. And so then you got this idea, if I look this way or look this way or look this way, I'll finally be acceptable. It's about having deeper acceptance of you as a person, of your body, of your body's rhythms, of your body's needs and movements. And this is a big part. This is one of the keys and one of the main triggers around emotional eating. Because if that voice is going on in your head and you're creating shame all the time, every time you pass by the mirror, every time, you see a reflection of yourself, that's creating stress, that's creating shame, and that's going to trigger you into more emotional eating, because you're going to feel like, I don't feel good, I want to feel good. And your brain says, well, let's emotionally eat, because that's what we do when we don't feel great or we're in the shame spiral. And so this is one of the steps. And so this is a process, and it's on multiple levels. So it's not just, I accept my body in a mental way. It's awareness is important, and seeing where you don't accept your body, and then doing the deeper work in your body, the trauma work of where are those where's this non-acceptance coming from? And in and of itself, of meeting your deeper emotional needs, you start creating more body acceptance. Because when you do this in the body somatically, you're accepting the sensations there, you're accepting yourself, you're seeing for the first time the truth of this. And you can see how you started trying to contort and make yourself maybe perfect or look a certain way, because what you were really looking for was that acceptance and that validation from your parents or caregivers. And when we don't have that and we're not creating the solid foundation, this is what we do. We try to reach for all of these other things. And so it might not have been your parents or caregivers. Maybe you were bullied at school. There are all of these different things that happen. But if it impacted you and you weren't able to get to the other side and resolve that and come back to a place of acceptance of yourself and validation of yourself, there's work to be done there, because it could be triggering your emotional eating. Of course, you need to be aware of your triggers when they're coming up. And so how do we start becoming aware of this? So when I'm working with clients in the Emotional Eating Evolution program, we are keeping track of triggers. When are you emotionally eating? And to be honest, a lot of my clients, what we're seeing on the surface is the emotional eating episode. And so we have to work backwards and look through and sort of sort through what triggered that. Sometimes we are triggered into our emotional eating because we haven't nourished ourselves enough. We haven't given our body, our physical body, enough nourishment. And so then we want to binge. And so that's more of a physiological need. We then have to look at, what were we thinking about ourselves? Can we slow down enough to see maybe we were critical of our body? Maybe we were anxious. Maybe we were worried about our body. Sometimes I have clients who have health issues and they're like, no, I need to look a certain way or be a certain way because then my body is healthy, but they're not in acceptance and they're almost beating up their body trying to get to this perfect place or eat this perfect way. And that in and of itself is triggering emotional eating and putting them in a place where they're not going to be able to nourish themselves or give their bodies the needs it has. And then when we can find those triggers and we are doing the deeper work on where did this come from? What is the root of this? And we are processing and integrating, doing inner child work, integration work on a body level to integrate this, to resolve this, get to the other side. So you're no longer looping on something is wrong with you, because you're not bad or broken. Something's not wrong with your body. You weren't born imperfect. It's you were given these messages. And as a child, when we're given these messages, we can only internalize something's bad or wrong about us. And so we need to do this deeper work, come back as a more compassionate, loving adult self and resolve this, because this is still going on in your body. Every time you walk by the mirror, if you still hear those thoughts, they're keeping you stuck in this pattern and in your emotional eating loop. But we need to slow down and see that. And that's something that I'm looking at when clients are in the program. I can track their triggers. I can see what's coming up for them. We move through each of these areas. So we're looking at, are you being triggered because of you're not nourishing yourself enough? So are you truly nourishing yourself? Are you being triggered because of your body shame or trying to force your body into a mold or be a certain way or eat a certain way without doing the deeper work? And of course, we dig into the emotions that are coming up, the shame, so that we can move through that. So we're looking at all of these areas to really see it. But this is what is happening around body image issues. If you have body image issues and then you feel out of control with food, they kind of go hand in hand. There's something going on there. There's a connection and a link. And this is what I see for clients. And so if you want to get started on this journey, a great place to start is learning to discern true from emotional hunger. And so I have a free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? When you're able to discern that on a body level, you start catching your triggers. And this is a doorway to your pattern. And if you are ready to resolve your emotional eating, you want to have that support and the step-by-step process and the in-depth tools, you can find out more about my 12-week program, the Emotional Eating Evolution program, that helps you get to ease and confidence around food and in your body in a sustainable way. So you can find out more at the links below. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.